In 1973, the tomb of King Casimir IV of Poland was opened for study, revealing an unexpected consequence. Shortly after, multiple researchers reported mysterious illnesses, leading to whispers of an ancient curse. Scientists later suggested that centuries-old fungal spores may have played a role, yet the pattern of misfortune led many to believe the tomb was best left undisturbed. During the Gallipoli campaign in 1915, an entire battalion of British soldiers reportedly vanished into the mist, never to be seen again. Eyewitness accounts describe the Norfolk Regiment marching into a dense fog near Hill 60 only for the mist to lift, revealing an empty battlefield. While some believe they were captured, others speculate about an unexplained event lost to history. In the 1700s, Italian violinist Giuseppe Tartini claimed to have had a vivid dream where the devil himself appeared and played him a mesmerizing, otherworldly piece of music. When Tartini awoke, he desperately tried to replicate what he had heard, composing what's now known as the Devil's Trill Sonata. The complex composition gained a dark reputation. Musicians attempting to perfectly play the piece reported experiencing strange accidents, sudden illnesses, and even death. Some claim the sonata is cursed, believing that those who play it are unknowingly inviting misfortune upon themselves. In 1923, the small village of Joer Verde, Brazil, was found completely deserted. The town's over 600 residents had vanished without a trace, leaving unfinished meals on tables, tools scattered in the streets, and doors left open. The only clue left behind was a message scrawled on a schoolhouse chalkboard that read, "There is no salvation." Despite thorough investigations, no bodies or signs of struggle were found. Theories attempting to explain the disappearance range from mass abduction and supernatural forces to government experiments. However, no historical records confirm the village's existence, leading some to believe it may be an urban legend rather than a true unsolved case. In Prague, a 16th-century cathedral houses a mysterious sealed black coffin that has remained untouched for centuries. According to legend, the coffin contains the remains of an alchemist's apprentice who was allegedly consumed by his own experiment while attempting to create gold. Witnesses claimed he vanished into thin air, leaving behind only a smoldering lab. Fearing supernatural consequences, the church officials of the time sealed his coffin permanently. Local superstition warns that opening the coffin would release his trapped soul, bringing misfortune or disaster to Prague. Despite extensive restoration of the cathedral over the centuries, no one has dared to disturb the coffin, leaving its true contents unknown. For decades, a mysterious radio signal known as UVB-76 has been broadcasting a strange, monotonous buzzing sound from Russia. Occasionally, the buzzing is interrupted by cryptic messages, numbers, and names, leading to speculation that it could be a Cold War-era military communication, a numbers station, or something more sinister. Despite numerous investigations, no one has officially explained its purpose. The station remains active to this day, occasionally transmitting unknown codes. In 1931, the Bechimo, a whaling ship, became trapped in Arctic ice off the coast of Alaska. The crew abandoned it, believing it would sink, but the vessel broke free on its own and continued drifting through the Arctic. Over the next 38 years, sailors, explorers, and even Inuit hunters spotted the ghost ship in different locations. Attempts to board or salvage it always failed, as storms and shifting ice made it impossible to capture. The last recorded sighting was in 1969, after which it vanished forever. In 2004, a 15-year-old girl named Gina Gizi became the first known person to survive rabies without receiving the vaccine. She was bitten by a bat and did not seek medical treatment until symptoms appeared, which is usually fatal. Doctors placed her into a medically induced coma to slow the virus, a procedure later called the Milwaukee Protocol. Against all odds, she survived and made a full recovery, though most attempts to replicate the treatment since have failed. In 2007, the Cas de Sur, Borfur Sans, Garkine, A Shirir, and Kyasiri, a catamaran sailing off the coast of Australia, was discovered drifting without its crew. The boat was in perfect condition, with food still set on the table, the engine running, and a laptop open. However, the three-man crew had vanished without a trace. There were no signs of a struggle, and all personal belongings were untouched. Investigators believe a freak wave or unexpected storm may have swept the men overboard, but with no distress signals sent and no bodies ever found. In 1875, locals near the ruins of St. Elora Abbey reported hearing an ethereal choir singing at midnight. Witnesses claimed that on full moon nights, the silent corridors of the ancient abbey were filled with the ghostly harmonies of a choir, believed to be the voices of nuns who perished in a tragic fire decades earlier. Along with the haunting melodies, a faint scent of roses and burning incense was said to drift through the air. At the old Ravenscroft mansion, a centuries-old estate in the English countryside, visitors and staff alike have reported sightings of a spectral servant. This mysterious figure, dressed in period-appropriate attire, appears briefly in the corridors and then vanishes without a trace. According to legend, the servant met a tragic end under mysterious circumstances and now roams the mansion. In a small medieval town, residents have long been haunted by the legend of a statue dedicated to Saint Verena. Every full moon, the statue is said to shed small drops of blood that stain its marble base, while church officials have attributed the phenomenon to natural causes, such as condensation mixed with rust from nearby iron fixtures. Many locals believe it to be a divine warning or a sign of unresolved past sins. In the 1920s, workers at Briarwood Asylum in rural England reported hearing faint whispers echoing from the walls during the quiet hours of the night. Staff noted that these murmurs seemed to repeat the names of long-forgotten patients, as if the building itself was trying to speak of its dark past. Despite numerous investigations, no logical explanation was found. Local lore holds that the voices are the lingering memories of those who suffered within its walls. In 1981, Jean Hilliard, a 19-year-old from Minnesota, was found frozen solid in the snow after being exposed to temperatures of -22 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 hours. Her body was so stiff that paramedics could not insert an IV needle into her skin, and her pulse was nearly undetectable. She was assumed to be dead. However, doctors placed her in a warm room, and miraculously, she slowly regained consciousness. Despite severe frostbite, she made a full recovery. Scientists remain baffled by how her body was able to survive complete freezing without permanent damage. Roy Cleveland Sullivan, a U.S. park ranger, holds the record for surviving 7 lightning strikes between 1942 and 1977. Each time he was struck, he suffered burns, hair loss, and injuries ranging from damaged toenails to scorched eyebrows. One incident set his hair on fire, forcing him to douse the flames with a bucket of water. Another strike knocked him unconscious. The probability of being struck once is incredibly low, making his repeated experiences nearly impossible by statistical standards. Dr. David Pritchard, a British scientist in the 1990s, conducted an unsettling experiment on himself. He allowed parasitic hookworms to burrow into his skin to test their effects on the human immune system. He believed that the worms could help treat allergies and autoimmune diseases, but the process was excruciating. The larvae penetrated his skin, causing extreme itching, inflammation, and lesions. Over time, Pritchard developed a high tolerance to their presence, hosting dozens of worms inside his body. Though his research provided valuable insights into immunotherapy, his self-inflicted parasitic infestation remains one of the strangest and most disturbing experiments in medical history. In 1977, an Arizona businessman named Charles Chuck Morgan vanished for 3 days, later returning home in a confused state, claiming that he had been in danger. Weeks later, he disappeared again. Authorities later found him in the desert, under mysterious circumstances. Strangely, his case was ruled an unusual incident, despite several puzzling clues left behind. The case took a bizarre turn when investigators found a $2 bill covered in coded messages and cryptic biblical references. In his car, police discovered documents hinting at financial dealings and hidden transactions. Even more chilling, a woman had called Morgan's wife before he was found, saying, "Chuck is all right." Authorities explored multiple theories, including financial disputes and potential hidden connections, but the case remains unsolved to this day. In the late 19th century, a figure known only as the Leatherman roamed a 365-mile loop between the Hudson River and Connecticut. Dressed entirely in hand-stitched leather, he followed a precise 34-day route, sleeping in caves and rarely speaking to anyone. Townspeople would leave food for him, which he always accepted silently before continuing on his way. His origins remain a mystery. Some believed he was a Frenchman suffering from heartbreak, while others speculated he had fled from a dark past. When he died in 1889, his body was discovered in one of his usual caves, clutching a crude walking stick. Strangely, he had no personal belongings, no money, no notes, no clues about his identity. In 2011, his grave was exhumed for forensic testing, but to the shock of researchers, his remains were missing.